Hello bookish friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Elsie, and today we are talking about my top 12 books of 2024. Legitimately cannot wait to talk about every single book in this stack, because every single book in this stack is a book that I have thought about throughout the entire year and will continue to think about and will continue to recommend. There's a couple of differences between my 2024 book bracket spread in here and the list that I have, because your girl had a rough fourth quarter of reading in October, November, December, and I just did not love any books that I was reading. So when I was coming up with this list of books, also sorry for the sun. Maybe I should do this. Is that better? Yes, I think so. Not really, but we're gonna go with it because I need to get this filmed. What was I saying? My book bullet journal, my book bracket doesn't match because something. When I was looking back at 2024 and the books that I read, these are the 12 books that stand out to me the most and that I absolutely love. Yes, let's not waste any more time and let's just start talking about them. I guess I'll probably try to go in order that I read them, maybe. The first book I have here on this list is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. I absolutely fell in love with this series in 2024. This is, I think, maybe the first book I read in 2024. Is that right? No, that's not right. I read this in the middle of January of 2024 and just absolutely friggin' fell in love. This is a cozy mystery that follows 4 different people that are they're like in a retirement village, but they're in like their 70s, and one's an ex-cop, one's an ex-nurse, one's an ex-spy, and they all use those like ex-careers to solve cold cases. But then one day a real murder case shows up right on their doorstep, and the 4 of them work together to solve it, figure it out. And it's a 4-book series at this point. I have read only the first 2 books. I really need to get to the other 2 books because I'm obsessed with this series. I love this series so much. I love these characters. And this is actually getting made into a show, which I'm hoping I can watch in the US. I think it's being made over in the UK. So I don't know if it's gonna be one of those things where you can only watch it in the UK or something. So to be determined on the show, but absolutely love this. I think I gave this a 4.5 star, but it's more like a 5 star. I just won't change my rating on Goodreads because then it'll mess up the order. So definitely one of my top books I've ever read, but definitely a favorite of 2024. The next book will come as no surprise, and it's not even just the first book that took my heart by storm, it's the entire series as a whole. Well, I'm up to book 9 at this point, and that is Craving by Helen Hart. This is book 1 of the Steel Brothers series. The funniest thing about this book, and I remember this day vividly, I was doing I think I read this in February, yes. So I was filming my February TBR video, right? And one of the jar prompts I got was to read a cowboy romance. Now, let me just read you the description of this. After being left at the altar, Jade Roberts seeks solace at her best friend's ranch on the Colorado Western Slope. Her humiliation still ripe, she doesn't expect to be attracted to her friend's brother, but when the gorgeous cowboy kisses her, all bets are off. So I read that and I was like, okay, cool. It's gonna be like a small town cowboy romance. No, I was absolutely wrong. This is such a deep, dark romance, like deep and dark, very dark. So definitely look up trigger warnings if you decide to read this. It is a 28 book series. I'm currently on book 10. I'm not physically reading it right now, but that is the next book I need to read in the series. And the setup of this series is it follows one sibling for 3 books. So books 1, 2, and 3 are one brother. The next 3 books are another brother. The next 3 books are another brother. The next 3 books are the sister, and so on and so forth. This is about a guy who, I don't even know if I can explain this properly. Basically, it starts with reading about Talon, who has a lot of childhood trauma from a very traumatic thing that happened to him when he was younger. He does not want a girlfriend. He doesn't want love. He literally just wants to bang and leave. And Jade obviously got left at the altar, goes to her best friend's house, stays with her, falls in love with the brother, and it literally just spirals from there. This is straight up chaoticness, straight up fucked upness, and very dark, very spicy. Like probably the spiciest books I've ever read. Pretty much all of the books so far have gotten at least a 4 star from me. I don't think any book has had less than a 4 star, maybe 1 out of 9 books that I've read so far. If you are into dark romance and you can handle a lot of fucked up shit, but like you still like a lot of intense spice, I should say, definitely pick up this series. You're not gonna regret it. I'm pretty sure I've read each book when I do read them within a matter of 24 hours, so let that be your note. The next book I also read in the month of February, and obviously Craving was my favorite book from the month of February, but I have to talk about this one. This is Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing by Matthew Perry. This is obviously his memoir. I still can't talk about him being gone. When I found out, I literally sobbed my eyes out for days, and I cried so much reading this because I absolutely love him. Obviously, I'm a huge Friends fan. Friends is my comfort TV show. When I'm anxious at night and literally can't fall asleep, me or Chris will put Friends on and I'm asleep within 10 minutes. Like, it's kind of crazy, and it's just my comfort show. So when he passed, I decided to listen to the audiobook of this because he narrates it himself. It just broke my heart all over again. Like, I was a hot mess when I was reading this, but I also loved reading this because you don't know how bad he was going through it when he was one of the most famous people on the planet. And it just goes to show that, like, money and fame do not fix your problems. And I hate when people say, like, oh, well, he's rich, he could have just gone to rehab. Yeah, guess fucking what? He went to rehab like a million times and it still doesn't fix the deeper issues that he dealt with as a kid and growing up, you know? So, like, next time you want to come at a celebrity for being addicted to something, how about you just shut the fuck up? And that's that. This was an amazing book for me. I listened to the audiobook and instantly went out and got myself a hardcover because I just, this is a special book to me. So had to mention that one. I wanted to organize the books so I could just grab them and not like have to think about what order I need to talk about these books in. Okay, so for the month of, what month are we in now? Jesus Christ, I'm sorry, I'm all over the fucking place. Okay, we're in April. I was very, very kindly gifted an arc of my most anticipated release for 2024. If you have been following me for a while, then you know that Sarah Pearse and the Sanatorium is like my all-time top tier book and author. I think sometime in 2020, late 2023 or early 2024. No, it had to have been 2023. The publisher reached out and asked if they could send me the second book, which is The Retreat. I was like, no, I already have it. Like, don't waste sending that to me. And they were like, all right, thank you. And then I found out the third book, The Wild by Sarah Pearse, was coming out. And I was like, should I just shoot my shot? So I reached out to the publisher and I was like, hey, I know you guys asked me if you could send me the second book, but is there literally any way I can get a early copy of her new book? And they were like, yeah, of course, like just send us your address and we'll get it to you. This is my most prized possession from 2024. This is an early copy of The Wilds by Sarah Pearse. It's the third book in the Ellen Warner series. I'm dead, you guys. I fucking love this series so much. And you guys have heard me talk about it so many times, but this, when I say this, I mean The Sanatorium is probably one of the first thriller books that I read that absolutely blew my mind. And to this day, when people ask me like, what is your all-time favorite book? It is The Sanatorium by Sarah Pearse, because it takes a lot for me to like not guess an ending or be like, okay, I kind of saw that coming, or not be shocked by something. But there's something about Sarah Pearse that like every freaking plot twist just like stabs me in the gut and just like rips out my soul. I just love her writing, and I love Ellen Warner. I love following her. I don't ever want her books to stop, and I just hope that Sarah Pearse keeps writing forever. So this was one of my favorite books of 2024, and it is the most special book I own in my entire life, in my entire library. I will never, ever, ever let anybody borrow this. My dad asked if he could borrow it, and I was like, yeah, but you legitimately cannot mess up the edges or the pages or anything. So if you do, I'm gonna be really pissed. And this is a book that I just will not let anybody borrow because I love it so much. Did I even explain what that's about? It's basically a thriller. Ellen Warner is a detective and she solves different crimes in each book. That's all you need to know. This next book is, it makes me giddy talking about this book because I loved it so much, and it was such an unexpected 5-star for me that this is why it's my favorite book of the year. And that book is A Wild Love by Elsie Silver. You guys, I was not expecting to love this as much as I did, and the second I finished it, I was like, that was a fucking 5-star. That was one of my favorite books I've ever read, and I absolutely love her, and I love these characters. And I say it all the time when I talk about this book, but I don't do book boyfriends. Like, I've never read a male character and been like, oh my god, he is like my perfect man, I want somebody like him, I would totally date him, until I met Ford Grant in this book. I don't know what it is. I just fucking love Ford Grant. I think it's because, one, he's fucking rich, obviously, but he's not like a cocky rich asshole. He's actually very humble and doesn't like flaunt his money around, but like the spice scenes in this, yum. I absolutely love this book so much. It's basically single dad, he's rich, she is coming back into town after like a breakup or getting fired from her job or something, I don't know, but this book was absolute perfection. This is one book that actually made me cry. It takes a lot for a book to get me to cry, but this one did it, and I absolutely freaking love this book. I still need to read book 2, but I'm just like scared that it's not gonna live up to the expectations of this one, but I know it will. It's Elsie Silver. Another book I'm so giddy about. This was like a second, was this my second runner-up? It was my third runner-up. And we'll talk about my book bracket in just a second after I talk about all these books. But this was hard to choose between Wild Love and this next book on which was my favorite of the year. And this is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I'm not much of like a corny romance rom-com girly. Like, I like spice and I like a lot of spice, but this book, oh my god, this book absolutely took my fucking heart, ripped it out, put it together, ripped it out again, fucking tossed it in the ocean, and then at the end put it right back where it needed to be. This is the third book of the Part of Your World series, which I enjoyed Part of Your World. Then I read Yours Truly, which I really liked, and then I read this one and I was like, I don't need another book ever again in my life. This one is about two characters that once they break up with somebody, that person then finds like their soulmate and their one true love. So there's two of them that are like that. They end up talking, what's her name? Emma is a travel nurse and Justin lives in, say like Wisconsin or something, Michigan maybe, I don't know. And Emma ends up going to his hometown and working as a travel nurse there for the summer. They pretend to just like fuck around and have fun. Obviously it's an Abby Jimenez book, so that is not how it goes. And I love all the little innuendos in this book from the other two books in the series. And when you put one thing together with one of the other books, you're like, wait, what? So I really liked it, but I love these characters. What's the guy's name? Justin? He was another one that I was like, all right, you're a little too corny for me, but like, I could totally do it. So this was an automatic 5-star for me. I think that was the only 5-star in the series I gave. I think I gave Part of Your World 4 stars and Yours Truly 4.5, and Just for the Summer got a instant 5-star from me. Wow, all of these books I'm so giddy about talking about. Okay, this was by far the best cozy mystery book I've ever read. Well, it's tied between this one and The Thursday Murder Club. I absolutely freaking love this book, and this is Every Time I Go on Vacation Someone Dies by Catherine Mack. It's about this girl who's going on a book tour in Italy for a book that she wrote. It says 10 days, 8 suspects, 6 cities, 5 authors, 3 bodies, 1 trip to die for. So some crazy shit starts happening while they're on this trip. Somebody shows up dead, and our main character in this, who is an author of the Vacation Mystery series, has to team up with her ex. I don't know if they actually dated, but somebody she hates to solve this crime. And it's fucking amazing. I read this in a matter of 24 hours because I was so obsessed with it. And I actually have a arc of the second book right now, which is No One Was Supposed to Die at This Wedding, which I legitimately can't wait to read that one either. But this was another instant 5-star for me. I absolutely freaking love this. And if you want a super quick cozy mystery that is just gonna be vibes and a good time all throughout, this is your girl. I have an honorable mention also from the month of June, I think I read this. Let me double check. Yes, I read it in June. This is a book that I was so intimidated to read just because of the sheer size of it. I didn't know if it was gonna be too brainy for me or not, but there was something in my soul that was telling me to buy the book and read it instantly, and I did. And originally I rated it 4.5 stars, but as time went on, I was like, you know, that was really like a 5-star favorite for me. But I, again, don't want to mess up my order on my Goodreads, so I didn't change the rating and it's sitting at a 4.5 star, but it's definitely more like a 5-star. And that book is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. You guys have heard me talk about this book nonstop since June, pretty much, and I just freaking love this book so much. It's basically similar to Fourth Wing, where it's dragons, but they're not dragon riders. Are they? I don't think so. I don't think they ride dragons, but there is dragons in the world that like go up to the moon when they die and solidify, and that's like their stars kind of. But it goes back and forth between timelines, if I'm remembering correctly. Am I saying all of this wrong? Yes. So it goes back to diary entries that were 9 phases ago, which is like they go by moon phases, and then it goes to Rave, present day. And when the two timelines connected, I lost my shit. I was like, wait, what the fuck? No way. This is where that book is going. So I loved this. I loved the banter between the two main characters in this, and obviously this is a thick boy. This is why I was so intimidated to read it, but I read this book so freaking fast. And you can see I have little tabs in here because there was so much information in the beginning of this book. Like, there's a whole ass glossary. There's a glossary of the creatures and beings in this world. There is the characters, who they are, how you pronounce the name, and then a pronunciation guide. And when I saw that, I was like, I'm never gonna understand this book, but the tabs definitely, they were game changer for reading this. So I can't wait for the second book in this to come out. I think it's June or July of 2025, so I can't wait. I loved this book. 2 more to go, and this next one was my favorite book that I read in the month of September. It was a cozy fantasy. It was exactly what I needed at the time that I read it, and that book is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. First of all, Look at this cover and the sprayed edges. It is so pretty. I want to visit this little cottage and just live there. This is basically about a girl who has to flee from the city. She goes to the island she was born on. Her family did not want her living there because they wanted more for her. And when she gets to this island, she realizes that magic is not really a thing there and it's forbidden for the outer islands to use magic. But she's got a little trick up her sleeve and she starts a jam shop where she, behind the doors, sells like little like potions and spells, I guess. This is the cutest, coziest time. Sarah Beth Durst has another book coming out in 2025, but I don't know if that book follows the same characters. I'm hoping it does. So her new book is called The Enchanted Greenhouse. Comes out July 15th. Oh, it's a standalone novel, but same concept. This was just such a cute, cozy time, and there was actually a lot of action and plot in this for what is considered a cozy fantasy. Sometimes cozy fantasies can just be a little more like blah and day-to-day, and while this had a lot of her day-to-day, it also had a lot of action in it and just like beautiful creatures, and this is one place I would love to go visit. Like, this place needs to exist in real life. And then the last book I have on this list here is more so an honorable mention because it didn't make it as my favorite book of whatever month I read it in, and you guys, I'm obsessed. It's Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. You're probably like, yeah, duh, like that's everybody's favorite book. No. Long story short, when Chris and I got married April of 2023, the weekend after, me, Chris, my sister and brother-in-law now sat and binged, I don't know how many movies. I don't know if we just watched the first movie and then Chris and I binged them, whatever. I binged the movies and then I was like, you know, I want to go back and read all the books. And then after I read the book, watch the corresponding movie and do like a reading vlog for it. And that's what I did. And the first 3 movies / books, I know everything that happened. But when I got to Goblet of Fire, I wasn't as familiar with the storyline and how it happened and how it ended. So this was like reading it for the first time and experiencing this specific story for the first time when I read it. And it was so magical. I tell everybody now that this is my favorite Harry Potter book that I've read thus far. I am on book 5. Again, not physically reading it. It's on my winter TBR, but so far this has been my favorite storyline that Harry has gone through. When I watched the movie, I was like, wait, this movie is so good too. Azkaban is still my favorite movie, but this is definitely my favorite Harry Potter book. And this is one book that I think about all the time because I just love this book so much. And obviously I love Harry Potter so much. And 2025, I'm going to officially finish out reading the Harry Potter books. It's been way too friggin' long since I've been trying to read these. So this is the last book on my top 12 of 2024. Should I talk some honorable mentions? Let me go back to my 5-star favorites. The only book I have on my 5-star favorite list that I feel like needs to be talked about is, actually, let me just go grab it. Finley Donovan Rolls the Dice. This is the 5th book, I think. Well, 4th real full-length novel, but there is a novella, so technically the 5th book. But I freaking love this series so much. You guys have heard me talk about this series plenty of times. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what this is about. It is a cozy mystery series where our main character, Finley Donovan, is a thriller, mystery, murder, romance author, and she is in a Panera one time talking about her next book. Somebody thinks she's like a paid assassin. They give her a note that says, I'll give you $100,000 if you kill my husband. And it shit just hits the fan from there. It is a great fucking time. I highly recommend reading these on audio rather than physical because the narrator who does Finley is just like fantastic, and I enjoy them much more on audio than I do reading them physically. There's another book coming this year and I cannot wait to read it. So I just had to mention this one. This is my last honorable mention, I swear. Let's talk now. Let me go back to my book bracket. Let's quickly go over the favorite books from 2024. So obviously in January, it was The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. February was Craving by Helen Hart. March was The Clinic by Kate Quinn, which I guess is another honorable mention. This book right here, this was my favorite book for March. This was such a good mystery thriller that takes place in like a psych ward almost, and the plot twist in this, it was amazing. That's why it was my favorite book from March, but it wasn't like my all-time favorite of the year, so that's why it didn't make the top 12, but this is again another honorable mention. April was The Wilds by Sarah Pearse. May was Wild Love by Elsie Silver. June was Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, of course. July was Every Time I Go on Vacation Someone Dies by Catherine Mack. For the month of August, my favorite book was Killing Stalking Deluxe Edition number 7. I think it's simply because I didn't like any other books more than that. It's not like that was my favorite book of the entire year, so that's why I didn't make that list. September was The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. 10 was Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. Again, enjoyed it, but not enough to make the top 12. Same goes for these next two. November, my favorite book I read was Candy for My Orc Boss by Ava Ross. It's just straight up monster smut, little short novellas, but again, didn't love it enough to make my top 12. And then lastly for December, my favorite book was Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I had issues with that book, let's just say, and there wasn't any book that was better than it in the month of December, but again, not good enough to make my top 12. The final 3 books that it came down to when I started filling out my book bracket was the Thursday Murder Club, Wild Love, obviously, Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. It really came down to these two, but when I thought about which one was my favorite for the entire year, I was like, which one surprised me the most? And that was definitely Elsie Silver, Wild Love. I knew I was gonna love this book, but I had no fucking clue what I was gonna think of this book, so that is why Miss Wild Love by Miss Elsie Silver is my best book of 2024. And with that, I leave you at my top 12 books of 2024. Let me know your favorite books from 2024. Which book was your absolute favorite? Were you surprised by it? Did you know it was gonna be your favorite? Let me know all of those details in the comments below. Thank you again for a great 2024. We're already in 2025, I know, but like, thanks again for a fantastic year. You guys mean the absolute world to me. Any type of support you show me means the absolute world to me, and I'm excited for what 2025 is going to bring. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel. Make sure you have the notification bell on so you never miss an upload, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.